I wanted to try doing something using AR, but the Microsoft HoloLens is a couple $1,000s. So, what if we take a Oculus Quest that's in like the $300 range, and then we take a Raspberry Pi. Excuse me, Raspberry Pi. That's in like the $50 range, and we put sensors on the Raspberry Pi, and then get the information from the Raspberry Pi to the Oculus. That should make us a rudimentary AR system, and it would be way cheaper. So yeah, that's what I started to do. I'm gonna keep the basics in this video, and then I guess we'll see where this goes in future videos. Okay, so the wiring is pretty straightforward on the BNO. Um, we've got the VIN on the white cable, ground on the blue cable, and those go to ground, and you see that this blue becomes brown. Ground and 3 volts on the Raspberry Pi. And then I'm using the I2C ports on the Raspberry Pi to talk to this guy. You can use UART, but then you gotta like connect extra pins, and that's kind of a pain. So yeah, you got your purple SDA, and that goes to this pin right here. It's kind of like the second pin, and then SCL goes to the third pin. All right, so this is the main Unity code. It's pretty straightforward. It's got the basic directional light. It's got my cube with the all the important stuff on it, like the WS client, main thread dispatcher, because yeah, that was a pain. And then it's got the OVR camera rig, which you'll see in the sources down below, how to set this up. All right, so this is the C# code, which will run as part of the cube, and it'll help us grab the data from the WebSocket and use it to whatever we need. In this case, we're just going to use it to wiggle the cube around. So it's kind of split up into 3 parts, not in chronological order. Basically, it's got the set everything up part, it's got the do something with the data part, and then it's got the grab the socket data and turn it into something that we can use. Yeah, so everything starts out with the libraries. Here's some C# stuff. We initialize some things. So here in the main thread, we find the cube and we put it into this object right here so that the code knows what we're talking about. We prepare the callbacks and the WebSocket server, which we'll host on the Oculus. And I'm going to skip this part for now because chronologically, then what happens is once we start the server, we're waiting for a message, so that once we get a message, we grab that data and we parse it, and then we put it into a vector. And once we have that data in a vector, we set up the callback action and send the orientation. And so now we're back up here. And here's where we grab the data and we put it into a local variable. And so throughout this whole process on the main thread, on every update, we've been grabbing that variable and using it to set up the rotation. All right, so this is the Python code, which is running on the Raspberry Pi. The first thing we do is put in the libraries. And so that's what this board, Adafruit, and BNO, and the bus IO. That's for the I2C. The second thing is the WebSocket stuff. So yeah, the first part of the code, here we set up or link to the WebSocket on the Oculus. And I'll show you how I put a link on how to get that IP from your Oculus down below. And then, yeah, we just set up the sensor, and I've got this delay here just so it doesn't jam everything up with data, but it can go faster than 10 times a second. And yeah, it grabs the BNO data and sends it out using this small function here. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of built-in functions which help us do what we need to do. All right, so here is me in VR. I am loading up my VR app, which I have a link down below on how to get onto your Unity or from Unity onto your Quest. So here's my very messy room, and the code is running. It's automatically doing the pass through. I'm holding this microphone because I think the sound is coming through, but it's actually not working. So this is actually a voiceover. And up there on the screen is the output from the Raspberry Pi. So you're about to see it start sending a bunch of numbers. That's what that scrolling is, and I just point at it. And here's the cube behind me, which now is wiggling with respect to how I move the IMU, the BNO. And so, yeah, basically, BNO is sending information to the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is sending information over socket to the Oculus, and then the Oculus is then piping that information to Unity to move the block correctly. So yeah, getting the system up and running, getting your programming environment set up, and your Oculus permissions, and your Facebook account, and all those things set up to program on this was a bit of a pain. There's people that know what they're talking about much more than I do, and so I'm going to put links to their videos down below. And yeah, if you have any questions or if you get stuck, let me know. I got stuck a few times, so hopefully I can help you through that. Yeah.